to the Retrograde
video game podcast, where this week we head to Paris for the 2024 Olympics.
Ooh la la. My name is Andrew Baskin. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mr. Olympian, Mikey Aaronworth.
Mr. Olympian.
That's
Mr.
what it is, right?
Olympian. So it's like Mr. Olympia.
I mean, it's close enough.
Yeah. But you were
they're
also an
related.
Olympian, and then but you wanted a more of a dignified title. So that's Mr. Olympian to you.
Listen, if breakdancing is a sport in the Olympics,
Yes, it
why
is.
isn't bodybuilding?
That is a good question. I don't know what the criteria of bodybuilding is. Is it just like,
Well, they'd have to pass doping things, which I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's more. Yeah, I
Do
think.
you think they're all natty?
Yeah. What is with that? The online thing of just people just going like, "Oh, natty? No.
No.
God, no.
No. Why would I be natty?
Yeah.
I've got recovery that my body needs to do.
I don't know what the judging for the bodybuilding competition is. It's like how many awoogas out of 5? This guy gets 4.5 awoogas.
It must be very subjective.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Just how vascular their veins are.
Yeah,
like, is their vein as thick as my penis?
Right. Which, yes.
Yes, of
Yes,
course,
it is.
Yes.
The main vein. Is because it's not the biggest guy.
No.
Right. So
I think it's also like how well they can hold their poses.
mm-hmm.
Someone explain to us. Well, our listeners aren't going to, they're not going to be up on that.
There's going to be one guy and I'll be like, why do you listen to this?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Paris 2024 is happening, the Summer Olympics.
It is.
And
we're in the throes of it. The throes of passion
Yes.
with the Olympics.
The most romantic city in the world.
Paris.
Yeah, well, that's
The
what it's
river
called.
of shit that flows through it.
Yeah.
So romantic.
The Eiffel Tower that they hate. What else is going on in Paris? They love protesting.
They love protesting.
They're very
good at it.
Gold medal for that one.
Gold medal for protesting.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy who's like baguettes, but like they're
Baguettes.
really good at baguettes.
Oh, no,
They're
100%.
really good.
Yeah. There's actually, it's funny. We're going to be traveling to Paris soon, my player one and I.
Oh.
And I create these little Google maps of like areas that, get recommended for different reasons or things that you should look out for. So you're always like, no matter where you are, you go like, well, I think there's something around here that is pretty good. One of the sections is like baked goods and boulangeries and like, whatever. And that section got 60 deep before I got anything else with
Just baked goods and
yeah,
stuff.
and you're like, oh wow, that really is part of the culture. I cannot.
How
wait.
do you sift through them though? Like, how do you find the actual good ones?
Well, if they get mentioned, it's such a big city that
Yeah.
if they get mentioned, it's like, well, okay, at least I know it's not the worst.
You know what the real strategy is?
What's a real strategy?
This is a traveler's tip for all you guys
Okay,
out
this is
there.
good. This is Mikey's travel corner.
Go to the hotel concierge
Right.
and you say, I want to know where you go.
Yeah.
It always works.
I always love after you always talk to a bartender, go like, where do you drink after work?
Yeah.
And you're in this beautiful cocktail bar that is like, opulent and the service is incredible. And then they take you to the biggest piece of shit in the world. They're like, I drink here. And you're like, oh.
I can't afford the places you want to go to when
Yeah.
you're traveling.
The place you were at, I can't afford to go to. And you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
So,
it's.
yes.
I feel like that's also a scam. Being like, where's the place you go? They're usually just in. This happened to me in Rome. I was
okay.
there with my family, and my dad was like, I want to know where you go. And the
To
person's
the concierge?
like, to the concierge, and the concierge is like, I'll hook you up. And we went to this place that's very clearly they're like putting money in the concierge's pocket for
Absolutely.
doing just that thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, they do. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's also like they look at you and they go, I don't think you'd survive this place. Let's take them to the other tourist place that I think they like. Yeah.
And then you go to that place and they give you the non-locals menu that is more expensive.
The English one,
Yeah. We're excited for this. Obviously, with the Olympics going on, everyone. I mean, the world has been abuzz
Olympic fever
with this game that's come out. It's kind of taken the world by storm. It's Olympics Go Paris 2024.
If you're sitting at home going, I've never heard of this game. What are you doing? Don't you read the news? Don't you have your finger on the pulse?
There must be a phone in your hands, or is there not? I don't know. Do you put your head in the sand much like an emu?
Yeah.
Or an ostrich?
Ostrich, I think, yeah.
Emus probably do it. They got long necks.
Who knows?
You must just not be paying attention to all the goings on in the world, because this game is taking the world by storm.
And this is why you listen to the podcast. So we can help you keep up with what's hot and what's popular. And of course, that is Olympics Go Paris 2024.
And that might be the first time you got the name correct, Andrew, when you're saying it.
It's such a good name.
It rolls off the tongue.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Obviously, the Go in it has to have just been an executive in a boardroom being like, that Pokemon Go is doing pretty well. Let's just throw that in there with the exclamation mark.
Is Pokemon Go still doing very well?
Yes.
Wow, that's
My
incredible.
brother still plays it.
Really?
My brother has played it since day one.
Wow.
Obsessively. He goes on what he calls his Pokemon walks every night. and he goes to catch Pokemon. It's good.
That's
It gets him up
That's
and going.
good.
Except it prevents him from going to bed before 3 a.m. because does it from like 12 till 3. But he has one of the most impressive, like among the leaders globally, he's relatively high ranked.
Wow.
It's like very impressive.
That is impressive.
The grouping he's got. He's also traveled a bunch, so he's got some of those unique Pokemon that you can only
So
get.
he does it when he travels too?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
100%. 100%. And there isn't really much like that in this. This is a free-to-play game, Olympics Go Paris 2024.
Very good.
Which is a departure, I think, from what we would have gotten
Yes.
with the Olympic Games that are most often talked about as having served their demographics well. You got Beijing 2008, you got London 2012, you got the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. These were games that you bought a disc for and played the disc, or, you know, bought them on Steam or computer or whatever. But they were well-made games, or more well-made, I think. I can't believe I'm defending like what I usually would have trashed.
You have to defend them though.
But relative to this piece of garbage that we played,
Yeah, so we're not going to bury the lead here. We played this over on our YouTube channel.
we did.
So go watch us play this hunk of shit,
Yes.
this flaming piece of trash free-to-play game.
Olympic flaming piece of trash.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They lit the piece of trash.
They did.
Everyone clapped. Oh, you know. Yeah, so it is free to play. And so they're incentivizing you to stay within the game.
Yes.
They, you know, you can only play so much without paying a little bit or, you know, every couple of hours.
Uh-huh.
But we played all 12 disciplines that you can do in the Olympics in Olympic Go, Paris 2024. And we're back to report that this game is not good,
It's not
but
good.
we're going to walk our way through it.
We're going to walk our way through it. Maybe after we talk a little bit about, let's refresh the palate, because we're fresh off of having played through all of the events in this game, making
Yes.
our way through the instructions.
All 12 disciplines of the Olympics.
The-
There's nothing else.
The 12 most famous, most popular, most enjoyable ones. For
Like
sure.
shooting and breakdancing.
Like shooting and breakdancing. Everyone watches the Olympics for these. Let's give it a little palate cleanse, Andrew.
Yes.
I've been playing some games apart from from this as well. The Steam Summer Sale is now a few weeks past, but it's one of my favorite times of year. You get a bunch of very good games, generally for very cheap. I think in past years it hasn't been quite as solid as it was, 5-6 years ago. But there's always a couple deals that kind of pique my interest. The one game that I got, actually 2 games that I got this year that I've been playing. One of them is a game called Buckshot Roulette. Have you ever heard of this game?
No, I've never heard of this game.
It is
I understand both words.
both words.
I just don't understand them as a sentence.
As a sentence, and how they might coalesce to
Yeah.
create a video game
Very
experience. Well, it's pretty much exactly like what it sounds like. The game is you're playing a game of quote unquote Russian roulette, but with a shotgun. So you'll load up shells into a shotgun. Some of them are blanks, some of them are live, and you're playing with like a dealer across the table from you. There's some power-ups, little things that you can do to kind of lessen your chances of shooting yourself in the fucking head, I guess is how you put it. You can get like a power up that allows you to see the next bullet in the chamber, or a cell phone, like a mysterious cell phone that calls you from the future and says like, hey, the 3rd shell in the chamber is live. You can saw off the end of the shotgun if you know the next bullet is live, and shoot your partner. So every time it's your turn, you can, not your partner, sorry, the dealer. Every time it's your turn, you can choose to either shoot yourself or shoot the dealer.
Okay.
So if you know the bullet is live, you shoot the dealer. If you shoot yourself and it's blank, you now get another turn. So it takes a very simple premise, which is don't shoot yourself in the head, and kind of layers it in a way that makes it interesting to go back to.
Wow. Okay.
The aesthetics of this game are what I think intrigued me the most. It is akin to the game Inscription, which I absolutely adored back when I played it. Kind of like you're in the back of the seedy club, so you can always hear like the background bass of whatever music is playing, but you're in this like
Deer Hunter.
Very much like Deer Hunter, yes. Except the enemy or the dealer is kind of like Babadook-esque, wears this weird mask and is very mysterious. And
I was gonna say, who's the developer of this game? Jigsaw?
Oh, Andrew.
It sounds like it.
Andrew, you can't say shit like that. No. I think the listener warrants an apology, because you can't be saying stuff like that.
I can't. Is
In
like
this
Jigsaw
climate?
like Voldemort or something like that?
No, it's just you can't be saying these poignant things that you say. People don't come here for that.
People like political humor.
Oh, and that's barely humor because it's just so on the nose. It's so true.
Trump Jigsaw 2024.
Oh,
50 states, just across the board, just sweeps, amazingly.
maybe the only way I would vote for him.
Yeah. If Trump went and my running mate and then a little tricycle comes across the stage, people would lose their fucking minds.
I'd be like, we got to see what happens.
Yeah, like,
Gotta see
okay,
what happens.
how bad could it be? And then 4 years later, we're like, wow, that
Well,
was really bad.
Worse than I expected.
Yeah, oh
worse
my
than I
God.
expected.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I enjoyed my time with Buckshot Roulette. It's like $2, so it's very
wow.
cheap. But I understand why it's $2.
$2 buckshot.
Andrew, you got to apologize.
Boom,
You're
come
laying this stuff
on.
up. You need to apologize.
Sorry, guys. I'm warmed up from the shooting game of the Olympics, and my aim is tight.
People do not come for the humor; they come for the facts.
Yeah,
And you're making them laugh, and it's really getting them off their game.
they're like, "What is this podcast? This has never been like this in the past.
It's never been funny before. I think though, and the next game I'm going to talk about is a game I think you would absolutely hate. I think you would kind of like Buckshot Roulette.
It sounds like I would.
You have that gambler's mentality where you're like, let me get as close to possible to knowing, and then just roll the die and see what happens.
Absolutely.
That's the element of this that I don't like, where it's not like a puzzle game where you can line up everything to know what's going to come and pretty much guarantee you're going to win. There is a huge element of 50-50 in this game.
Yeah.
Ultimately, sometimes you just don't know and you're pulling the trigger, and that I find frustrating ultimately. The other game that I've been playing, which is an older game, it's thought of as one of the best indie games of all time. I tried it way back when it came out. Didn't quite speak to me, so I was like, I kind of owe it to this game and to myself to give it another shot. It was on sale for like $1.50 in the Steam sale. It's Celeste.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I played this game on the Switch forever ago. I got it on Steam so I could play it on my Steam Deck.
Right.
And this game is your least favorite parts of a game like Braid. So there's puzzle elements involved of like, how do I get from point A to point B or get this pickup using jump and dash mechanics, like platforming mechanics. Solving the puzzle in terms of mentally knowing what's required, but then it being very difficult to execute the required elements of the puzzle. So the platforming is very difficult and very demanding. When you die, it's not like there's like a huge run up to where you go. Each puzzle is pretty much self-contained. But I remember going back and playing Braid and you being like, I know what the solution is. I should just be able to get to the next part now. This difficulty in putting the pieces together is not something that appeals to you. I feel like Celeste would be like one of your least favorite games. Like, I feel like you would absolutely hate it. I'm enjoying it. The story is good, but ultimately I still find myself in this feeling of like, I don't know why it's often thought of as like one of the best indie games of all time.
Okay.
It's not holding my attention quite that much. I guess it's just people who really like platforming games, but I'm going to stick with it. I think I'm like halfway through it or something like that. I'm going to try to see it through to the end. But those are the two games that I got on the Steam summer sale. It's over now, so I can't recommend you go get them, but I still would recommend, if you've got $5 to spare, go spend it on Buckshot Roulette.
Yeah.
It is a fun game. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I like the design of it, kind of like Matrix cyberpunky style, but like grungy and Blade Runner. Yeah, it's good. It's cool stuff.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've been playing my most anticipated game of the year, NCAA Football 25.
Sorry, what was the first few letters of that?
NCAA Football.
Oh wait, I'm
25.
not interested in the last word, but the first few letters there.
Oh my God, you're going to talk about basketball again, aren't you?
That's what you said NCAA.
Yeah.
Joakim Noah.
No.
Emeka Okafor.
Yeah. They're all 40.
Al Horford.
Al Horford. Very good.
Who else? Michael Jordan at some point was a really good college basketball player. North Carolina.
In the 80s. Yeah, North Carolina. Very good.
What a history.
Yeah.
For that school.
Yeah. The Tar Heels, yeah.
And then even South Carolina had that run.
South Carolina, what's their name?
You're
going to like it. It's funny.
South Carolina, it's not the Tar Heels. I know that.
That's North.
Because that's North Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be
it's
like a Pavement Toes.
Pavement Toes, yes. They're huge fans of the band. And no, they're the Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks.
Funny.
That's good.
It's funny.
It's almost as funny as you. I mean, you've been on fire today.
I have been on fire today. Thank you very much. I'm going to take that for, just on surface value.
No, it's sincere.
My most anticipated game, NCAA Football 2025, coming back after an 11-year hiatus.
Yeah.
Probably 12-year hiatus, whatever. Doesn't matter. I am so excited. It's great. I love it. It's so funny where EA makes Madden, and all you hear me talk about is like Madden, boo, sucks, and whatever. They've made a lot of improvements on the engine that you actually play football on. It is more closely associated with the college game, which is very different than the pro game.
How
With
so?
a lot of option game, like a lot of options, which is like passing to your wide receiver, or to your running back or wide receiver in the backfield, so you can like dump it off, almost like rugby kind of thing. The many different schools and the many different types of way they play. I love playing Dynasty because I love recruiting players, which is so funny because you're talking about the buckshot roulette. Same kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I am fascinated to hear how this
I put a handgun in the middle of the table and I say, one of us is walking out of this room today. I'd love for it to be you. Is because you will, there's a gambling side of it. You have a certain number of hours a week that you can talk to the players.
Okay.
And they give you many different ranges. And it's so funny how modern the game is now. It's like, one of them is check their social media and like maybe like some stuff and go like, hey, come to Virginia Tech.
Interesting. Wow.
Second one is DM the player and going like, hey, what's up? It's Coach Bascom from Virginia Tech, by the way, go Hokies.
Wow.
And I wanted to choose a school that was not like doing well.
Sure.
So like I can build them up.
Sorry to all the Virginia Tech alumnus out there.
I think they would go, yeah, that sounds about right. And I'd be like, hey, it's Coach Bascom. And then the other one is contact their friends and family. And that's 25 hours a week for that one player. Then it's send the house, which is just like send everyone you know to go like after the guy. And then there's other things, hard sell based on when you start learning what their interests are, what they find important versus what you are good at in your system. Like it might be, you're a good academic school. Your facilities are really good.
Right.
You're a championship contender. You're close to their home, which is a big one. And so then you can start aligning your pitch based on what they find to be important.
That's fast. It's funny because you're describing this and my video game brain is trying to picture how that plays out in the game itself, like what the mechanics are. But
it's
this
almost
sounds
a
fascinating.
text-based adventure, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And so every week you're gambling because you're putting all your numbers and you only have so many hours and you can talk to 35 different players at a time. And you're like, okay, so this guy likes me though. I know I'm first right now in his interests, or he's in a different stage of his recruitment. He's in the top 10 schools. Some guys go, I'm only talking to 3 schools. And you're like, okay, so maybe I should talk to him more. And you're playing all that. And then you'll go play a game that week. And then at the end of the game, they're like, hey, these 3 guys have decided to sign up to play for Virginia Tech next week. These 7 guys are playing for other schools. You're like, damn it.
Oh.
And you're like, and based on their star meters, like how good of a player they're going to be. And so the football becomes a very fun, like intermission in between trying to recruit players. And God, you hope you win because sometimes you'll ask them to come visit the school and you'll show them the facilities and stuff like that. And winning those games is very important
while
to them.
they're there.
Yeah, while they're there.
That's really cool. I really like that.
I love this so much. And I get obsessed with it. It is one of the few games as an adult that I lose time to when I go, oh my God, it's been an hour. Holy shit, I need to do something.
So a few questions.
Please.
One, the people you're going after. Like I know that with, what is it, NIL?
NIL. Yep.
That college athletes can now make some money off of their own likeness, which is fantastic. Long time coming. A lot of the players are real college athletes.
Yes.
Are the people you're recruiting?
No.
Okay.
Because I think the real skill of playing NCAA, and you can play forever, is that if you play Madden and you play for 5 years, you start recognizing less and less players.
Yes.
And you go, oh,
because
God.
the good people retire.
Yeah. And so when you start, you think you're doing it because you're like, oh, I can't wait to play with Saquon Barkley, like whatever.
Yeah. Or
and then he retires.
Noah
or Joakim Noah, who's retired. And
that's why I don't play the NBA games anymore.
That's why. Yeah, that's why. And once Noah retired, you're like, well, threw it out the window. That's it. This is an infinite source of just random players because it doesn't really matter.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I do remember that. I used to, and this is not a bit.
Okay.
I used to play the NCAA basketball game back around 2007.
I wonder why. Yeah.
I'm not joking. And I do remember that, back in that day, none of the players were real.
Yes.
They were all in
Numbers.
the base game. They were numbers. They were modeled after real people. So there was a real good 3-point shooter on Duke, for example. It wasn't JJ Redick. It was Alfonso Soriano.
You picked a real baseball player? You could have chosen anything. And you chose a real second baseman for the Yankees and Rangers? 40-40 season, Alfonso Soriano,
I was just as surprised he was in that game. It was baffling to me.
His 3-point shot's so good.
And he looks nothing like JJ Redick.
They really don't look alike when you think about it.
But because you were already dealing with players who weren't real.
Yeah. You're just amazed you did that, didn't you?
I don't know why.
When you said Alfonso, there was such a pause of like, shit. Alfonso Smith? Yeah.
because you weren't dealing with real players anyway, when new fake players came into the league, it didn't make much of a difference.
No, it doesn't. And like they're only supposed to be there for a short time.
Right.
So that's the part where you can persuade them when they're like, I think I'm gonna go pro. You're like, hey, we got one more year. We might win a championship.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm coming back, coach. You're like, damn right you are. I'm gonna, we're gonna move up your stock. I find it, and then at the end of the year too, like realistically, people are like, "Hey, you're doing well. Do you want to be the head coach at our team?"
Oh, cool.
And you have an alma mater, so like they're really holding that bullet to going like, "Hey, Notre Dame's calling. Notre Dame. Sorry, we just played Paris.
Yeah,
and Notre Dame's calling. They're like, "Do you want to come be the head coach of your alma mater?" And you'd be like, "How do I say no?" But I gotta say no to these young guys. I would say the NIL they take out completely.
Yeah,
which I think is a good thing for this point. For this
they
part.
take out as in
they don't use it at all. They don't touch it.
Okay.
Because it's a weird nebulous thing that like NIL is not really through the school. It's through the boosters around there.
Sure.
It's like, I think that would be a hard one to explain. But the one thing about modern college sports that they have included is the transfer portal, which is a much more popular thing than it was when the last time this game was around. At the end of the year, there's a lot less restriction on players transferring from school to school.
Right.
And why shouldn't it? Like the argument was that coaches can change, and obviously why are players stuck? Because used to be you have to sit out a year. So at the end of the year, all these players are like, hey, time to move around. And you're like, sounds good. And so
that must make the offseason that much more fun.
So much fun.
How many games are there in a college season?
That's a good question. I think you play about 12 games, and then if you make the playoffs, it could be up to 4, and you play a championship game. So it's maybe like 16, 17 games.
Oh, wow.
If everything goes right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of fun because you schedule some cupcakes on there and you just beat the hell out of like some Midwest team. It's like 72-0 against Liberty.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones where, I just love the one thing I will say too, because I'm fairly sure I'll talk about this a lot, is the one thing that they did really well is if you go to a visiting stadium and it's a good team, you're going to Miami, you're going to Notre Dame, whatever.
UCLA.
No, UCLA is not very good.
UConn?
Nope. You're thinking of basketball again. And you say it's not a good basketball school anymore. It hasn't been for a while.
Well, it wasn't the year that mattered.
What was that?
2007.
Bill Walton? Oh, 2007. Okay, yes.
When they lost to the Florida Gators.
Right.
Headed by Joakim Noah.
Your pronunciation, I don't think you've said the same thing twice in the 200 times you've
I've got to pander to all the different people who pronounce his names differently.
Mm-hmm.
They all want to be seen and noticed.
Yes.
One day Joakim stands. And then one day Joakim.
Yeah.
People who say that, they want to be seen. They're like, we love the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
That's how we said his name.
And his dad was French, by the way. So there you go. He was a tennis player.
Was he from Paris?
I don't know, but I think he played in Paris. I think he played Roland Garros.
It's pretty cool.
So the one thing I'll say is that you go to these away stadiums, and when it's really loud, they have like a loud meter kind of at the top, and you'll see your players. So you'll check your play. You're seeing everyone moving where they're supposed to go, and you're looking around. And then all of a sudden, you'll see like question marks above their head, and they're looking at him, and their line will get a little squiggly because they're kind of like they can't hear the quarterback, and they're like you can see their hands go up like what, and so
way,
and like trying to call an audible. Sometimes they just don't. Sometimes they just won't hear you. You're like you're moving left, and he's like. Move straight. Okay, got it. And you're like, no. God
that's really cool.
And so it is a fun thing of like,
how does that play mechanically though? Because I remember when they introduced things like broken sticks into hockey games.
Yeah.
The first time it happened, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And the second time it happened, or the time it really got in the way of a good play, I was like, that's so fucking stupid.
I like it because it is realistic of like, I'm on the road.
Yeah.
Like I can't just like video game it up and like, you're gonna go here, you're gonna go here, you're gonna go here, and whatever. You do need to stay within your strategy and not mess around too much. Now, when you get to the playoffs, it's all neutral site, so it's not as bad.
Interesting.
So like when it really, really matters, it doesn't affect as much. But you know what? It's fun going to like a famous stadium.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it's loud in here. Like and they're 19-year-old kids, they're getting intimidated and
that's
stuff like
really
that.
cool. I really like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is funny because like, I know we joke about this, but obviously college sports are very, very popular. Yeah. But you think about college sports relative to Madden, and you're like, why would you play the college version when you could just play with the pros? But those detriments or those factors that are more at play at a college level than at a pro level do make the game a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
When it comes to the actual mechanics though of like pressing to pass or moving, does the game feel different than Madden?
Yes, it does. There's a lot more animation styles. There's a lot more tackling styles, ways to break free.
Yeah.
You can just tell it just feels more free flowing.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to NCAA football. Now, they had a couple of years of a head start to like, they didn't have to pump something out every year.
It's probably a different team than Madden, I would assume.
I would assume so.
It is EA though,
it's
right?
the same engine.
Yeah.
So it's just, but I just, it is so much better than Madden. And I hope it's
amazing.
I hope it's a wake up call to Madden going like, oh God, we can't keep doing this.
Do you think they're at odds? Like, do you think they're in like, are people going to choose one game or the other?
No,
or if
because
you get one,
you can buy it as a package online.
Oh, that's very smart.
Yes.
That's very smart. Yeah. And you did it.
I did it.
Of course you did. Who's the cover athlete this year?
It's Christian McCaffrey for the San Francisco 49ers. And the cover athlete is many players of college. Like it's everybody walking out the tunnel, so you just see their backs.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's like 50 players. It's really cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm glad it worked out because I know you were really anticipating this game, and I it's not in the cards for me. I don't love college football.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. You don't like football in general?
No, not really. But it's if they bring back a CHL hockey game or something like that, maybe I'll be. I mean, that is actually kind of included already in NHL. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's really neat. Let's move though from the world of amateur sports back into the world of amateur sports.
Absolutely.
It's the Olympics, Andrew. It's
we
Olympics.
did so well at the football category.
Oh, in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Why aren't Olympics in the or
why isn't
football
American football in the Olympics? Because I don't think it would be a very interesting sport.
Well, they dominate.
I wonder how many countries could put together an actual team.
I'm liking our chances.
We would probably medal.
Canada?
It would be us and I think like some Polynesian country, I think. Because
true. That's where a lot
there's
of the
a
players
tradition
come
of
from.
that. Yeah. So Australians too at this point too. There's a lot of Australians in the
well,
NFL.
we're not playing by Aussie rules though.
That's a good point.
That's they're going to get disqualified if they do that.
With their criminal ways.
Bouncing the ball on the ground for some reason. We don't know why they're doing that.
Yeah, that's insane.
Olympics Go Paris 2024 came out June 11th, 2024. It's available on PC, Android, and iPhone, but don't look for it in the Steam store. It's not there. It's in the Epic store though.
Yeah.
And by the way, Andrew, I see you picking up that controller.
Yeah.
Put it the fuck down.
What?
You can't use that for this game.
Oh, you can't use a controller, but it's a video game.
We learned the hard way, or I learned the hard way. I boot up the game typically the night before we start to play it just to make sure that everything's running properly. And I was trying desperately to use the controller and it didn't work. This is clearly a game that was designed for iPhones and Androids, like for touch screens. So you pretty much only use, in fact, you only ever use your mouse when you're playing this game on PC. A little bit disappointing in that way. It's free with in-app purchases, obviously, published by Enway Inc. and developed by Global Step and Invisio Creations. Global Step, I looked up, they seem to be kind of like an outsourcing development company. So production companies, it seems, will go to them to do QC, to handle some elements of the development. But Invisio seems to be the team that was potentially a little bit more hands-on in the development of this game. They make a lot of licensed games. They did the Monopoly Tycoon game, SpongeBob Krusty Cook-Off, Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch, and Mob Empire, which I looked up. It is not, Mob Empire isn't the game where you always see those ads for. It's like level 1 thug, level 100 boss or whatever like that. It's not that one, unfortunately, but similar kind of style. It was announced in April of 2024. And I don't know if they had
of this year.
Okay. I don't know if they had more time between then and June to actually make the game. It doesn't seem like they were working on it very long based on what we played, but who knows? This company Enway is familiar with free-to-play games as a publishing company. They're also still on the NFT wagon, so their Twitter account is constantly talking about get your Paris mascot NFT digital collectible and all that stuff.
Can we talk about that mascot? He is all over this game.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
He's a hat.
You said that, and I still don't know if that's true.
He's a little French cap. I forget what the actual hat is called.
Chapeau.
Yeah, thanks. No, the type of hats, not the word hat in French.
Chapeau. Toque?
No, it's not that. But we were just saying how it's just crazy that there are so many famous French hats and they went with this one.
Do you think it's the least offensive?
Do you think a beret is offensive?
I think berets are often associated with like revolutionaries.
Oh, are they?
I think so.
Pretty badass then.
Yeah, or like military berets, kind of like a military thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Same with the Napoleon one.
The Napoleon one.
Yeah. Sideways hat. What is he doing?
Sideways.
Come on.
It's one gust of wind is going to blow that thing right off of him.
Yeah. Also, it's like, is it blocking the sun at all?
Is that what it's for? Or is it to be seen on the battlefield?
What are hats for in general?
Typically blocking the sun.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And covering up messy hair, maybe.
I always love that. It's always like cutting to like some sports fans and their hats are backwards and they're doing like, they're covering their eyes like that. And you're like, if they'd only invented something.
Then what's it for? The mascot's all over the place. Insofar as he's there demanding that you pump money into the game, I think that's kind of his primary goal of this one.
He's cute and he's like, spend money.
And they walk you through the process of spending money as well, but they do it after like the first
taste.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk about kind of the gameplay and the process that it takes you through in a bit. I'll kind of lay out the lay of the land of this game. Enway, I mentioned they're into the NFTs, they're into free to play games. They have a couple other popular games. There's Rec League, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and Power Rangers Legacy Wars. Andrew, I'm going to ask you this question. How many downloads, and I'm going to say it's on the higher end of things, how many downloads do you think Power Rangers Legacy Wars has?
I don't know. I don't know what the scale would be, right? Like, I don't know what a good game or bad game is. I'm going to say 200,000 downloads.
Higher.
Is it 1 million downloads?
Way higher.
Is it 10 million downloads?
Way higher.
100 million downloads?
70 million downloads.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wild. When I saw that, I was like, that clearly this is a company, maybe that's funding their entire existence. It could be that one game is what's
But it's free, right?
It's free to play.
So how much money do you make, like, per user?
Well, I think it probably scales in a way. I think the way the free to play market works is you're going to be paid by your advertisers, because often there'll be advertising. Yes. You can either pay to skip the ads or pay to increase production of your playtime or whatever it is. Yeah. So I don't know if it's $1 per person, which seems to me like a low element of the user base.
$70 million.
$70 million.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. If it's 50 cents, it's still $35 million.
That's true.
That's pretty impressive. But so I never heard of them. I'm sure there are a ton of companies out there that have these free to play games with 70 million downloads that I've never heard of as well, and that's why the market is as big as it is. The description of this game is interesting because you and I played through the entirety of the first 12 events that we go.
Only 12 events.
Only 12 events. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. It bills itself in the description of the game as a city building game.
Yes. Okay. So this is the more baffling part, I think. Yeah. So as we played the game, we're just going to talk about playing the game now.
Yeah. And by the way, if you haven't yet, as you mentioned, Andrew, at the beginning of the episode, we played through all this over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/retrograde podcast. It was almost a good hour playing through the.
Did we really?
Yeah, it was close to that. We had some not fun with the game, but fun talking about the game. So definitely check that out before you listen to the rest of this episode.
So you play since this is a free game, and they want you to spend money, you win a medal in the event that they give you, and that opens up another venue for another sport, and it keeps going on from there. The thing is, from each venue, there are 4 medals you can win. There's novice, and it goes up to like...
Well, there's 3 times 4, because there's gold, silver, bronze within each challenge.
That's true.
Yeah.
But if you get a gold in that one, let's say, it opens up the next one, and it goes from novice all the way to champion. 4 medals. And so you could play it 4 times, and I would assume it gets exceedingly difficult as it goes on.
But that's the thing is, like, whenever, I guess, and this happens a lot, whenever I meet an Olympic athlete, and they're like, I want a gold medal. I'm like, first of all, shut the fuck up about that. You won't stop talking about anything else.
Yeah.
Second thing I asked them, was it a novice gold medal?
Yeah.
Or was it a champion gold medal?
Which glory level were you on?
Yeah.
That's important.
I feel like you're striking me as a glory 3 person.
Yes.
And I'm more of a glory 36. And you can just pump that number up, I think, as far as you want to go.
It's funny. This is, so I recently ran a triathlon, right? And I finished. And they give you a medal when you finish, just like the Olympics.
By the way, I wanted to make a joke about this.
Yeah.
But I think...
You can't, don't worry.
No, I think all of our listeners should take a pause to realize that's very fucking cool, having completed a triathlon.
I also will say, look on the YouTube. Look at me. You can do it. Look at me. Look at this guy.
Andrew's underselling it. Andrew is
a triathlon. Baby.
Andrew is a bona fide athlete. And that's I'm not joking. He is.
I ran a triathlon, and you get a medal for finishing, just like in the Olympics.
Yes.
Thank you for finishing.
That's how it happens.
Here's a medal.
Here's the medal. Yeah, it's a novice medal, but still.
Yeah. You need to exchange it at the airport to get out of the country. And they go, okay, cool. And so I got this medal, and so I did this thing last year too, and I got a medal. And I was looking at my player one. I'm like, I think I'll just get rid of these, right? And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? Put them on the wall?
Yeah.
And she's like, and so I was thinking about it with the Olympics is going like, the degree between if I won an Olympic medal, I would never take it off my neck.
Yes.
To anything else.
You'd be Kurt Angle walking into every office.
100%.
You go to, yeah.
Do you know that story that he really used his Olympic gold medal for the first year of wrestling until a guy stole it out of his bag?
No way.
And they had to like chase him down and beat the shit out of him.
Holy shit. I did not know.
And then he was like, okay, we're going to move to like a fake medal, which also sounds crazy. You would use your real Olympic medal. But I would never take it off.
Yeah.
Like I would dine with it. I would walk around with 100%. It all the time. But anything short of that, you're like, okay, it's all fine.
Yeah. At what point are you like Pan Am Games? You're
Like Commonwealth Games. You're like, yeah, I have a Commonwealth Gold. You're like, oh, was that?
Is
Did
that
that
good?
happen?
Is that
yeah,
good?
Where was that this year? It is funny that in the Olympic gold, the medals this year, and I don't know if people have been noticing while watching Olympics, are very pretty. Louis Vuitton,
really?
and the medal people, their attires are all Louis Vuitton. They all look like little weird French models.
That's wild.
They're just like, here.
They're
They're like, fuck, that guy is so cool. Jesus Christ.
If there's anyone in the world I want to hand me a medal, it's that fucking guy.
Yeah, here you go. Congratulations. Thank you.
I don't watch much of the. I know we talked about this. You do watch more.
I do.
More
I love it
than I do. Yeah, I'm excited when it happens. But either way,
I'm excited that it's happening.
that it's
somewhere
happening.
else.
No, I do. I like when the events. I like the global festivity. I like when the world is on the same page for once.
Yeah. Except Russia, they're not allowed to come.
No. They know what they did.
Yeah, well, that's also true.
Let's talk about the competitions, and then I know we've talked about things like glory and fan point and all
Yes.
that. I'm going to go through all the mechanics as well.
Explain it.
But what I want to do is start with what you would expect from an Olympics game. There are competitions that you could do. There are 12 of them. They are the 100-meter dash. There's artistic gymnastics. There's archery. There's basketball. There's breaking, which is break dancing.
A 3-on-3 basketball, by the way.
3-on-3 basketball, but which consists of just shooting 3-pointers in this game.
Modern day basketball, right?
Modern day basketball, indeed. Yeah. Cycle track, fencing, golf, rowing, shooting skeet, skateboard, and swimming.
So most of these, outside of the gymnastics, the running, the swimming, and the rowing, are kind of newer sports.
Yes.
And I think they're trying to feature going like, hey, did you know golf is in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Did you know skateboarding is in the Olympics? And in that way, for a free game, you're doing a good job advertising the Olympics, explaining, you might not be aware, but we've included these things. I think there's other like sample sports like wakeboarding or something like that too.
Oh, wow.
That they're just, let's try
it out.
Yeah, We're not giving medals, but like, let's do it as a
Esports.
little exhibition. Yeah, wait for that, eh?
Yeah.
That's gonna be the next
It'll
one.
happen.
Oh yeah, probably.
By the way, we've done a lot of like these kinds of. We did Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games way back in the day. We did this.
I don't have a single memory of that. Did we?
Yeah, we did. We
Wow.
did. Yeah. That was when we learned because we were making we were trying to make our name, so we did Cassandra as the name,
Yes.
and then it was like you can't do that because there's a bad word in it because ass was in the name Cassandra, which is hilarious.
I forgot that was the game we did that for.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of all these games that include events like this, is there an Olympic event that you want represented in games that you haven't gone?
God, if they never include sprinting ever again.
Yeah, that's the go-to.
There's just nothing interesting about doing a video game version of that. Unless it was like a tactile arcade game where you had to tap your feet or something like that.
Sure.
Like that'd be tough. Is there one that I'd want to see? Well, it's funny that there are so many sports in the Olympics that have their own video game that's very good. We have skateboarding, we have Tony Hawk, we have basketball, we have, and 2K.
Yeah.
There are golf, we have Tiger Woods. There are versions of that, and it's just so tough. It feels a lot like when the Avengers game came out.
That literally is the exact example I was going to give.
The Avengers game comes out, and then they go, and we have Spider-Man. You're like, yeah, but that Spider-Man game was really good.
Yeah.
You're like, it's just as good as that. And you're like, it's just not as good as that.
It's not the same thing. It's a dumbed down version of it. It's what I always say about Red Dead. It's like there are good fishing games, there are good shooting games, there are good horseback riding is as good in Red Dead as it is in anything else. But it's like when you
no equestrian in this one, eh?
Unfortunately not. There should have been
some dressage,
but
horse dancing.
Here's another thing which we'll get into when it comes to the types of events in this game. You could theoretically or very realistically take the mechanics overlaid in these games and apply it to equestrian. If you took the gymnastics mechanics and just had a video of a horse jumping, it would have been the exact same effect.
So I think an important part to bring up is in the 12 different sports, there is a different mechanic for each one on how you succeed.
Yeah.
Now, before you're like, wow, that's impressive. It's really not. It is. So an important one would be like, so you're running the sprint. You are trying to pump the mouse click as far as possible into a certain degree of a bar.
Yes.
But not too far and not under it.
Yes.
You're just trying to keep into this happy medium. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Then you go to skateboarding and you're just doing little motions with the mouse that they're telling you what to do to complete a thing. There's no freedom. You're not moving around.
Nope.
It is just a quick time event going bam, bam, bam.
Pretty much everything is either how fast can you tap or here's a quick time event.
They're all unique, but they're all very simple.
and could almost be interchangeable. Like there's a way you could imagine doing the archery for shooting, or golf and basketball are pretty much the same, and sprinting and swimming are pretty much the same, with minor variations. So kind of like what you'd expect, but I feel like with this being on a touch screen and free to play, the variation and the interest level is even less significant than it was on like the PlayStation 3 back with Beijing and London Olympics. Let's go through the systems before we get into the actual. We'll go beat by beat with each of the events. So here's the systems. You have fan points. Fan points are generated over time from the venues. They increase as you update the venues. So you basically collect fan points from the venues, and each venue generates more fan points based on how much you've upgraded it. Think Simpsons Tapped Out or something like that. Any of these Farmville type games where you have these areas that generate points for you, and the higher upgraded are, the more points and the more frequently they generate points, which you have to then log in to collect.
There will be a book written about Farmville one day. Like, it is fascinating. I don't use Facebook. You know, I think the majority of people my age are kind of in the same thing.
Yes.
Do you remember getting those invites for like Farmville, like join Farmville?
Oh yeah, all the time.
My God.
And then there were 30 other games like it. I never played them either, but it was the beginning of it was Zynga, I think was the name of the company that made them, or something like that.
It was like a dog or something logo.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. And it was, all different versions of that one thing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God I never played that.
No, I never did. I never really, the only one of those games that I ever got into was Fallout Shelter.
Okay.
Which is basically like, I know a lot of people got into Simpsons Tapped Out. It's taking the same mechanics, but applying a dressing onto it that is more familiar to you. And I actually spent money on Fallout Shelter, which I'm very ashamed of, but I did. It worked on me. They finally got me. So the fan points, you use them to train your athletes and to upgrade venues.
Okay.
Now, athlete training is interesting because
as a concept,
they even say on the website for this game, they're like, now most Olympic athletes have to train years, but in this case, you can do it overnight. It's like,
it's like a needle.
It's basically, like just avoid the doping agency. That's another mini game that you have to do.
Yeah. You running away from Dick Pound. The funniest name of all time.
Dick Pound is a great name.
Also a Canadian.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, he's a real prick. It's so funny. I think you have to be. It's kind of like being head cop, where you're like,
true.
You're like, you are like the classic Irish stereotype of like, what are you doing here? like cracking skulls and stuff like that. But Dick Pound, the fact that he doesn't go by Richard is just unbelievable to me.
I would lean into it.
Yeah.
Because if you go by Richard Pound, people are going to be like, hey, Dick Pound. If you go by Dick Pound, they're like, this guy fucking, there's nothing else I can say.
If you don't know what we're saying, he leads the anti-doping agency that chases after these athletes that are all doping.
Yes.
And you're right. It is probably like Dick Pound. He's like, hey, nice job, Dick Pound. He's like, the fuck you say to me? You're like, Jesus Christ. That old man is like really mad.
So you can train the athletes, and that makes it, we mentioned the novice medals and then all the way up to champion medals. The events get more difficult arbitrarily as you go. And if you train your athletes, it basically makes it eventually so that champion is probably just as easy as novice, but you've trained your athlete to make it so that you use the exact same button inputs to get a medal as you would have at the very beginning.
Which I will say, it would be impossible to be easier.
Yes.
The novice is painfully easy. We won 11 gold medals. There are 12 events.
Andrew?
Yeah.
God, I really can't let them know about that.
What, the 12th event? What if we cut this part out and they just never know? Which one?
Well.
Yeah, we won 11 gold medals. Moving on.
No, I did. I failed. My dad called me in the middle of rowing. So I got second place because I answered the phone in the middle of the Olympic event.
Yeah, we lost to Haiti.
We did. They were so good at
rowing. They were so good.
So you can upgrade your athletes with these fan points. You can also get flame gems, though.
Flame gems, of course, a concept everyone understands.
Yeah, they're in-app purchases. You spend them to unlock outfits and customizations. That's cool, right?
Yeah, you get different kits like to wear.
Yeah, and it's good because that doesn't really affect like how good you are at the game, right?
No, that doesn't. You're
wrong.
Right.
You can also convert them into energy, which you can spend and on fan points.
Oh my God. Back to fan points. So there's flames, there's lightning, which are energy.
There's fan points, there's flame gems. Energy, what's that? Energy is generated over time. You need energy to compete in Olympic events. Higher difficulty events cost more energy. How do you get more energy? You just wait for it to regenerate, right? Or buy energy bundles.
Oh, there we go.
You get one energy every 2 minutes. And as your characters level up, they get larger energy pools.
I feel like in my own life, I get one energy every 2 minutes.
Honestly, it feels like one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
You're also losing 2 energy points every 2 minutes. Yeah.
I like the idea too. Like it's got this concept, like, energy can never die. That's why the human body, when it dies, continues on as a spirit. And you're like, what the fuck is this game doing to me right now? Sorry, that's my favorite person that always explains ghosts to me. You're like, well, energy can't die. And
Have I told you this before?
Yeah, I wouldn't shock me if all of a sudden now, like someone close to you dies, and you're like, I don't know if you know this. And you're like, oh no, energy can't die.
Andrew is one of those really unique people who vehemently declines that ghosts exist and are afraid of them.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. This is my same concept with God.
I think the same thing. I don't believe in ghosts, but I am terrified of them, primarily because if one shows up, everything changes. And if one shows up randomly, that means for the rest of your life, you always have to be worried that maybe, like in Alan Wake 2, which we were talking about, your screen just flares up and there's a spook right in front of you.
But this is also like you and I, like we've talked about this, like dark waters in a pool. You're like, uh-oh, sharks.
Yes.
Which makes no sense. But doesn't mean
it doesn't matter.
Fear doesn't have to make sense.
No,
you know what I mean? I think the other thing is, and if I saw a ghost that literally, the ring girl just turns around and goes, Andrew, and I'm like, and it disappears. That also means I might be having some horrible mental break.
That's true too.
This is the rest of my life now.
If that happened to you, would you rather it be a mental issue or a ghost?
Oh, ghost, because then I'm like, like Constantine or something like that. Like I might be a superhero. Yeah, that might be unbelievable. I'm seeing past the mortal realm into like another thing. Instead, I might be just like in a severe degree
closer to death.
Yeah, like a mental, like I have a brain tumor I didn't know about. Like that would be my fear.
By the way, Constantine, supremely underrated character in the DC universe.
Absolutely.
He's fucking so cool.
The fact that, and people really go for that movie, the Keanu Reeves movie.
That one, I can take or leave.
100%. But I think it's because it's skimming the surface of like something actually really cool.
Yes.
And instead they got to like, hey, guess what? Superman's come back. You're like, oh my
God, shut the fuck up
Yeah.
about Superman.
This is like Oscar Isaac and the Emperor's alive again. Somehow.
Oscar Isaac?
In Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. Damn it.
I don't know how it happened. Emperor's alive. Everyone's like, motherfucker.
I thought we killed him like 3 times, but
I hope he got $10 million to say that.
For the Star Wars, he definitely got paid at least $10 million. Yeah. So we mentioned as your characters level up, they get larger energy pools. How do they level up? You got to train your athlete. How do you train your athlete? You spend fan points. So it's all this big circle.
It's snake eating its tail.
It's the Ouroboros of the Olympics. You also get glory points, which are earned by winning medals.
Okay, glory points I don't understand.
I think that's it's more of a prestige thing.
Oh.
Beyond once you get up to glory 11, you've unlocked all the buildings. So you can play all of the different athletic events.
So this gets back to kind of where you started. We're saying this is a city building thing.
Yeah.
What buildings are you talking about?
So there are the venues where you play the sports.
Yes.
When you unlock those, you can play the sports. But there are also buildings that you can build and place around the venues to increase the amount of fan points that are generated over time from those venues. You can add restaurants. You can add arcades. You can add washrooms, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, brothels.
That's it. Yeah, the athlete's village. You can choose whether or not they have beds that they can have sex in.
Yeah,
those
the anti-sex beds.
Yeah.
That is... You at home, D-pads, are very lucky we have not done 20 minutes on sex in the Olympic Village.
Well, not yet.
I find it fascinating.
It's the amount of partying that goes on in the Olympic Village.
Yes and no, though, because if you're done your event, 24 hours, they're like, booty, yeah, like, time to go, dude. You can't stay the whole time, no.
Oh, wow.
And because people have to rotate in and out,
Yeah,
and
true.
like, there's just so many athletes, right? And then coaches and whatever. So you really are like, finish your activity. I'm going to nail everything that moves and ingest every piece of alcohol that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'm on back to my, simple living.
It's amazing. Like,
because now I'm 24 and an old person
and
I'm retired.
My knees don't work and I have nothing ahead of me if I don't become a trainer.
I guess I'll become a real estate agent. Whatever.
I honestly kind of believe like there's glory in winning a medal.
Yeah.
There's glory in playing the Olympics. I think the life of an Olympic athlete, a strict Olympic athlete, is maybe the worst life you can imagine for yourself.
It's a Spartan life.
It's a Spartan life and it's short-lived.
Yeah. It's like a soldier, yeah.
And everyone who should be giving you praise and money and accolades tries to take that away from you. The Olympics aren't going to try to put money in your pocket.
No.
The sponsors know they don't have to pay you as much as they pay like a professional athlete. the Olympic committees are trying to prevent you from having sex in the once every 4 years that you get to go to the Olympics village.
Yeah, you're right. And then your Olympic committee, like, I think it's the Canadian Olympic Committee gives you like $35,000 if you win a gold medal.
That's it?
Awesome. Like I have to pay coaches and nutritionists and equipment and, all this kind of crazy stuff. Okay, anti-sex beds.
Okay.
What would these beds have to be like? You are the hottest person of all time, right?
You're
in the best shape.
I don't know that you had to bring that up, but let's continue to talk about the sex beds.
I heard myself say it too. You're in the best shape. You're in the top 0.1%.
I've been working hard at it, honestly.
You look good. I've been top 0.1% of anyone in the world. And you're surrounded by exactly you in every other capacity, except loosely understanding your language.
I'd like to make it loose.
And you're going back to continue the rest of your life where this is now a dream that you're waking up from.
Yeah.
What is stopping you from having sex? If it's not the bed, I'm like, let's go to the floor. Like
the floor is right there, dude.
I guess maybe you could like put a very large painting of your grandparents above the bed or something like
Everyone
that.
has their own
grandparents and they're like, uh-oh.
I don't think that's going to prevent it.
No.
In fact, I think it might help it. See where you came from.
Sorry, I finished so fast. My grandmother's giving me that look again.
My grandma is hot.
The shame, I get off on shame.
No, yeah. What is a sex-proof bed? I'm picturing under the mattress is like the spike pit from Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean what we do to unhouse people with benches?
Yeah. In Toronto, we've been doing this thing. I'm sure we've been doing it all around the world.
Yeah.
But we have these benches, not just the spikes, but like they'll put railings in between the seats on the bench, being like, now we're giving everyone their own personal space with armrests. It's like, no, you're not.
You're
making
not.
it so people can't lay down on those benches.
Or the bench is like a swirl, so you can't lie flat on it. It's
Thankfully, I can. I got bad scoliosis.
Yeah.
It fits my back perfectly.
Guess who else does? Everyone that needs to use those.
That's true.
Like,
yeah,
I got it. Anti-sex beds. I find that just also fascinating. Also, like, why do we care? Let them have sex. I don't really understand.
That makes no sense to me. Like, what strange religious
Puritan? Yeah. Why does that upset us that they're allowed to? Yeah, of course. You just finished the hardest thing of all time.
It doesn't upset us. Well, that's what they say after the sex.
Heyo.
It doesn't upset us. It upsets someone on the committee. Like, what is that about?
Because they weren't invited.
That's probably it.
Yeah. The idea that these buildings, these essentially dormitories.
Yes.
Like a university dormitory is like Caligula is just
amazing.
The most fascinating thought to me, that every room, hallways you walk through is just people scissoring and sucking and fucking,
etc. Everything in between.
That wasn't part of the game though, unfortunately.
So we did end up getting to our 20 minutes on sex beds.
Oh yeah, we did. There you go.
So that's we've kind of laid out the scope of this game.
Yeah.
Both in terms of the events and in terms of the city building that you get around it. City building I use as a very loose term. It's hardly that. It's press a button near a venue and then a higher number appears to it once every 4 minutes. Like,
and it's like an amplifier of points.
Yes.
That's all it is. You don't do anything. You don't like order or keep inventory.
No,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Not at all. It's that typical like brain thing, knowing they're hacking your brain by having a number go up there that you have to click on and then seeing a larger number go up when you do.
Yes.
Let's talk about the gameplay itself. We've been pretty much trashing this the entire time. Let's challenge ourselves to say one good thing about the game. You go first, please.
Thanks. One thing is there is a different mechanic for every sport. I think that could have been 3 things and they could have replicated them. If it's a judge sport, it's this, like Dance Dance Revolution.
Yep.
If it's a timed event, it's this, whatever. They did something different every time. So credit to them.
Bare minimum, but it's true. That's it. They varied it. There are 12 sports.
What about you?
I think I gotta say the design of the game looks pretty good. I mean, it's very generic at this point. Like when we say Olympics Go Paris 2024 and that they're clearly borrowing from Pokemon Go, the character design and the city design is very akin to that of Pokemon Go. It's almost like 1-to-1.
It's also very Sims-like too.
Very Sims-like.
Sims.
It's that typical free-to-play aesthetic. It's almost like they buy like a prepackaged bundle of assets where it's like, this is your free-to-play game. But the map design had Notre Dame. It had some of the Paris Olympic sites set up. So that was cool. That's one positive that I'll give it.
Yeah, they had 12 different things. It could have been less.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's lots of, I don't know. I'm not going to give them too much credit for the customization, but like everything you get to choose a different athlete every time.
Yep.
Man, yeah, I think I'm tapping out here.
I don't know that there's much else positive that we can say. Of all the events though, do you have a favorite and a least favorite?
Shooting was my favorite
Okay, cool.
because it felt the actually most realistic. You
Okay.
had to move your mouse over the skeet. No, clay pigeon. They're clay pigeon.
Yeah, it's like skeet shooting.
Skeet shooting,
Yeah.
right? But it's not. That's not a skeet you're shooting.
No,
It's
that's when you come.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. To the windows, to the walls. Yeah.
Till sweat drops on your balls.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
All
Which
those
is
crawl.
Olympic Village, yeah. But yeah, I think that was the most realistic, where you're looking down the sights.
Yes.
You move your target over a moving object and you
Yep.
shoot. You know?
Even though it was very easy, you can imagine that being kind of fun at times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My favorite, similarly, which I don't think you got a chance to play though, was the archery.
Oh yeah. Right.
Archery, you click to pull back. You have a limited amount of time to aim. The more you go within the event, the more tired you get. So there's a little wobble on the crosshair, and you're also factoring in wind. That, the more difficult it gets, I think could be pretty fun. It's a very standard mechanic for archery. They pretty much just borrowed it from every other game that's done archery before, but it wasn't unfun.
Yeah. Okay. How about that? It wasn't like a drag or a slog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are some of them you'll see if you watch us play. And is that we had full conversations while doing it, and then not even acknowledging that when it was done.
No,
like we won a gold medal and we wouldn't even say
just
anything.
on to the next one.
You're like, okay, yeah. I guess
What
so.
about your least favorite?
My least favorite was. Did I do? I don't know if the breakdancing was okay. Golf was fine. I had to say least favorite was probably some of the ones you did.
Oh,
the skateboarding.
the skateboarding.
Skateboarding looked just so awful.
Skateboarding was going to be my choice for the worst. The only thing I'll say about it though is at least it was different.
Yeah.
It was, if you're out there and you're familiar with Elite Beat Agents, was a game on the Nintendo DS where you kind of like to the rhythm, tap your stylus somewhere and rotate it, move it around an area to like to accomplish some sort of rhythmic action. That's what they were going for with this. It was very boring, almost impossible not to win at.
Yeah.
So that sucked. But I think my least favorite was honestly the 100-meter dash.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is why it's the most basic of track and field mechanics from the game Track and Field way back in 86 or 84 when that game came out. It was tap the button to go as fast as you can. Since then, they've elaborated so that you're doing you're changing from like A to B, and it's like go A B A B A B instead of A or tap 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 tap. The problem is this now has gone back because it's on a touch screen to just tapping the screen. Yeah. There's no variation in the tapping. Right. There could have been something more rhythmic to it. It's somehow gotten worse than it was 30 years ago. And because of that, I think, for what is often considered like the flagship event of the Summer Olympics, the 100-meter dash, it's atrocious that it's this bad.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That was awful. And the rowing was very similar. No, biking was very similar to that.
So rowing and biking were similar in the sense that it was rapid clicking with kind of intervals of something else. So rowing was tap, 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 tap. And then there was rhythmic tapping of when the cursor goes to the left and right, you had to tap at the right time.
Right.
And then cycling was actually kind of cool, almost like Tony Hawk. You had to keep pace with a balance thing that was going up and down. You had to rotate an icon of a bike up and down as your character was losing balance. So that was kind of decent. But apart from that, very little variation in the speed mechanics or the speed athletics, because it was just tap as fast as you can.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Any other thoughts on this game before we move to, we'll give it just a rating out of 4. I don't think that we need to go into the retro score or anything like that, because this is what it is. It came out just over 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Or a month ago or so. But any closing thoughts on this one?
It's trying to be a couple of things and is nothing in the end.
Yes.
And that is a very tough look for it. I don't really know what the point of this game is.
Yeah.
This is probably just going right into my review, but like this is like,
do it. May as well.
I don't really know what the point of this game is. Is it to make people aware of the many sports of the Paris Olympics? Okay. Yeah. In that way, you're like, I got it. Is it to hopelessly hook people into a mediocre to bad game? Yeah, that might be more of it. The world building kind of it is not a thing. And then the sport part of it is not very good.
Yeah.
So I wish they just leaned into the sports part and just threw out everything else. But so be it. Out of 4, holy God, 1. I think I'm being nice. I could have given it a 0.5, but it's like, it's not, I don't think anyone's downloading this going like, this will be the best game I've ever played in my life.
Yep.
And in that way, it works, but it's just uninteresting in almost every facet.
Yeah. I agree. 1 out of 4. I'm very close to that because I think ultimately the downfall of this type of game is making it free to play.
Yeah.
I look at something like Pokemon Go and I'm like, people would give that a much higher rating. And why is it? The mechanics of Pokemon Go themselves aren't much better. You know, you flick a Pokemon at a thing, but I think the inner workings of the mechanics work a lot better.
Yeah.
The design of the Pokemon, the variation, the geolocation of it, the leaderboards and the battles and the synchronizing among different people. If you're going to go free to play, you need to at least show that you've given thought to the mechanics and the system that you're putting out there. You asked, like, what is this game for? Yeah. It's for making money. It's for making money for the publisher and the Olympics committee. And that comes at the expense of proper mechanics. Like, no one is playing an Olympics game and competing in all the different events because they want fan points. They're doing it because they want to play like a WarioWare style mini game that's fun to play and see where they rank on the leaderboard.
Fun to play. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I agree with you. You said the Pokemon Go thing. Pokemon Go can be addictive.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it is successful because you're like, man, I can't wait to play that game again.
Right.
Nobody, even if you're just the worst gambler in the world, nobody's like, can't wait to play that game again.
100%. I think the only reason this game exists is because with the Olympics comes cachet and a global audience, and they know they can make money at it. It's been localized in 100 different languages. I don't know how many actually, but tons of different languages. Sure. Every country is represented. They know they're going to make money, even though it is the most generic feeling game. And because of that, it almost feels like an insult. I'm going to go with a 0.5 out of 4.
Yeah, don't blame me at all. So 1.5 out of 8. That sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
That 1.5 out of 8 from the German judge. No, okay. But yeah, that's Olympics Go, Paris 2024. Olympics Go to Paris? How about that?
Or Olympics Go to the polls.
Yeah, exactly. Have you played this game? What track and field or Olympic type sport or Olympic game have you liked in the past? Let us know. Retrograde Pod.
Yeah.
And until then, we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
Au revoir. This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game Baguette.
Game Baguette. Game Baguette. Where's over? I should have known that.
Devant derrière, devant derrière.
À côté de. Okay. Well, that's our French education for today.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Do you think they're all natty?